I said, I know you. And I said, I made an offer on the property probably 2 years ago. And you told me, look, kid, in the real world, we don't make offers like this. And he said, really? Must have been in a bad mood that day. Anyway, do you want to look at this offer? I went and I purchased so many properties from that gentleman over that period of time that it really held, it was me that was limiting this. It wasn't him. He had a bad day. Making an offer on a property, doing business with someone doesn't have to be a personal thing. He used to come into my office and I had 150 houses available for sale. And so he would say to me, list all of those properties with me. Here's what will happen. I can't guarantee I'll sell them. He said, but you tell me what you want for them, and I'll list the properties for that amount plus my commissions. And if we get it, fantastic. You got from the property what you wanted. He said, but if we don't get it, what's really going to happen is that all of the people that call on your property for sale, if they don't want yours, I might be able to sell the property somewhere else. Right? And it made me think at that time about it. Do you suppose sometimes that's what agents do when people call on your house? Instead of really focusing to see what it is that they have that you can work a deal with, sometimes, I've seen it happen. Sometimes it's, well, you don't like that one? I have another one over here. And that other one over there isn't your house. So you didn't get a buyer on it. I had a guy call me the other day on my father-in-law's place. I talked him into doing a lease with an option and getting a big down payment. The guy called me and I said, well, do you have a down payment? He said, no, no down payment. I said, what do you have? Now, it might have been, you don't have a down payment? We got a bad connection to buy, right? But instead, he said, I don't have a down payment. I said, what do you have? He says, I have a 1970 SS Chevelle. Right? So a 1970 Chevelle Super Sport. And those cars are worth about, what, $30,000, something like that? So really what he had was $30,000 down. Because he said, I'm going to have to sell the car in order to buy this place. He said, I'm going to put about $20,000 down. So I have to sell the car, and then I'll have to sell it for $30,000 or whatever it was, 30 or 40,000. And then I'll give you 20, and I'll have some money for payments and things like that. So I guess what I'm bringing up to the point is, it wasn't about buying the house. It was about selling a car now. Really? It was about selling a car, and I said, you know, my father-in-law collects old cars. So it might be that he just takes the car as a down payment, and you get to move right into the house. Now, how many of you have ever purchased a house with a car down payment? It's the way that you can... See, how many of you in here today would like to buy a super sport 1970 Chevelle for $20,000? Okay, that's might be worth 30. Okay, so there is the key. I've taken in Corvettes, Blazers, things like that as a down payment because the buyers wouldn't buy unless they somehow had other motivations. A seller willing to trade and distribute. I've sold properties to a framer. He had a down payment, and this down payment came to me in the form of, I will frame 5 garages for you. Now, what's that worth? Anybody here need a garage built? Okay? So how much would you pay a framer to frame the garage? All I had to do was sell the service, and I happened to need garages built on land projects that I was doing. Where else could he put a down payment for labor and get his family into a property that I would finance or lease option? Okay, I'm way off the subject here. But as you can see, I'm passionate about it. That agent has to have this same information for them to be effective for you. Instead of sending them to another property that they like better, how about we offer them better terms or transaction, a different transaction that would motivate them to buy your place? What is it going to take for them to buy that house? What is it about that house that they like? Sell the sizzle, sell the terms of your deal. That's what your agents need to be doing. Now, I sat with an agent that was a 20-plus year veteran, one of the top producers in that company, on this transaction, and said, what about selling paper? What about if someone comes in and wants to buy on contract? Have you talked to the seller about those terms? And the answer that I got was, well, I don't deal in that portion. I don't know anything about it. The seller had already told me if someone had a big enough down payment, I'd just carry a contract, because the need wasn't that they needed the cash. As a matter of fact, getting the cash with this individual investor or seller was worse than getting paid off. And I'll tell you why. If he got the cash, he was going to put it in some type of guaranteed income-producing investment at about 1.5% interest a year. Now, I don't know about you, but I'd rather be hitting the kneecaps with a baseball bat, right? It's just terrible for me. It's unthinkable. Or, if he financed it, the equity that he had in the property would be generating about an 8 to 10% return. And he already liked the house. So it's not like if he financed it, he wouldn't want it back. We just needed a big enough down payment to assure him that he'd get paid. And that happened. And we did it with a lease option. We did it with a down payment. It happened in about 7 days. This property sat on the market for about 4 months without a buyer. And in 7 days, there was people in that property willing to pay and start generating income. But it was remarkable to me that he chose an agent, and the basis that he chose the agent was because the agent did a great job for him when he bought that second property. So it was listed. He went and saw the sign, called the agent. When the agent came out there, he felt comfortable with it. And that's important, isn't it? He did a professional marketing job. He showed up in a suit. All of those things that went into that. But what he didn't have, or didn't know about, was other creative techniques that could be used in order to sell that property. And that's why I'm so glad that you showed up here tonight. Because if they don't know, maybe you will. If you're selling your houses, maybe you will say, wait, what's the particulars on carrying a contract? Can we get somebody that will lease option the property? And if they say, I don't know anything about it, say, wait,